bir sebep verir. Yani ben neyim, ben kimim, ben ne yapıyorum anlamında. Ve kişiler arası ilişkileri daha kolay olur. Neden daha kolay olur? Çünkü sanal ortamda kişiler arası ilişkiler demin anlattığım doğal kaygıyı barındırmaz. Sanal ortama girildiğinde göz göze, karşı karşıya değildir insanlar. Ne haber diye yazar, karşıdan da iyilik diye cevap gelir. Yani bu demin bahsettiğim varoluşsal kaygıyı uyandıracak bir platform değildir. Dolayısıyla bu anlamda bağımlılık gösteren kişi için kişiler arası ilişkiler, bitti mi zamanım? 2 dakikam, hemen geçiyorum. Okey. Müdahale nasıl edilir bağımlı davranışa? Müdahale edilecek yer neresidir? Bağımlı davranışın kendisi değildir. Çünkü bağımlı davranış içeriktir. Esas önemli olan kişi ne yapıyor? Yani o uyarılmaya nasıl bir anlam yüklüyor? Nasıl bir anlam atfediyor ki tehdit algılıyor? Dolayısıyla müdahale, Gestalt bakış açısında, niye durmuyor bu? Fenomenolojik bir metodolojidir. Fenomenolojik metodoloji demek, şimdi ve burada ne deneyimliyorsun, ne yaşıyorsun, bedeninde ne oluyor, buna eşlik eden duygular nedir, buna eşlik eden düşünceler nedir? Yavaşlamak lazım. Acele değil, yavaşlamak lazım. İnsana içinde bulunduğu anda durabileceği bir metodoloji öğretmek lazım. Bana sorarsanız bu sadece bağımlılar için değil, hepimiz için geçerli bir şey. Yani hayatı çok çabuk, otomatik bir şekilde tüketiyoruz adeta. Biraz kendimize anda kalmak, ben ne yaşıyorum, neyi nasıl anlamlandırıyorum, buna nasıl duygular eşlik ediyor, nasıl düşünceler kurguluyorum gibi biraz durmamız lazım. Biraz boşluk yaratmamız lazım. Diyor ve sanıyorum burada bitirmem gerekiyor. Çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Hocam çok teşekkür ederiz. Özellikle yavaşlama çağrısına biz de şiddetle destek veriyoruz. Şiddete karşıyız ama şiddetle bu konuda destek olacağız. Zira gerçekten insan fıtratını zorlayan bir hızla yaşıyoruz ve çoğunlukla yaptığımız eylemlerin üzerinde tefekkür etme, tedebbür etme imkanımız olmuyor pek. Bu noktada da belki metot geliştirmek, yöntem öğrenmek, öğretmek gerekiyor. Farklı dini grupların, farklı alışkanlıkların da bazen aslında hayatı yavaşlatmaya yönelik olduğunu düşünmüyor değilim. İşte Müslümanlarda 5 vakit namaz sorgulanan bir şeydir. Doğrusu bunun da belki hani bir zamanı yavaşlatma, bir an oluşturma ve tefekkür etme, durdurma adeta olduğunu düşünüyorum. Farklı dinlerde de yine benzer uygulamalar, ritüeller var. Bu noktada tekrar teşekkür ediyorum vurgu için. Son olarak sözü Doktor Darya Kus'a vermek istiyorum. Kendisi İngiltere'de Chartered Scientist Psikoloji Derneği'nden etik alanda yeterlilik unvanı almıştır. Nottingham Trent Üniversitesi'nde psikoloji bölümünde dersler vermektedir. Siber psikoloji alanında çalışmalara liderlik etmektedir. Kendisi internet bağımlılığı konusunda da önemli çalışmalar ortaya koymuş bir uzmandır. Bugün mobil telefon kullanımı ve akıllı telefon bağımlılığı problematiği konulu bir tebliğ sunacaklar. Buyurun Doktor Darya Kus.
Hello, welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much for your lovely introduction as well. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure being here last year with you, and it's a pleasure again to be here with you. Thank you to the organizers for having me again. hopefully today I shall be able to share with you some of the insights of my very recent research on smartphone use and specifically on smartphone addiction. So I've been researching technological addictions for nearly 10 years now. It's been a long while. Time flies when you're having fun, and as you can see, also with the amount of people here today, this is clearly a topic of wide concern, particularly when we're thinking about public health, mental health, and also how we can improve health in that kind of a way. Now, before I start today, I would like to say that I'm very much in agreement with the president who came earlier today, who stated that really what we need to do is to use technology in order to improve our lives. And I think this is really crucial, rather than using technology in order to create problems and obstacles in our lives. And this is something that we really need to be aware of. And we also need to be aware of that for a small minority of internet users and smartphone users, using these technologies can indeed become a problem. Now, we have already started by asking about a little social experiment. I shall ask you again, is there anybody who didn't actually bring their smartphone today? Anybody who left it? Yes, one person? Two people? Anybody else? 3, 4 maybe? Okay, so out of 1,500 people, 4 people did not bring their smartphones. Now, what does it tell us about how we use technology, about how technology is actually contributing to our lives? When I think about my own technology use, my smartphone is the first thing that I see in the morning. 75% of young people look at their smartphones within the first 5 minutes of waking up. I'm certainly one of these people. You also think about what the smartphone is being used for. It's being used as an alarm clock. It is your entertainment. I've got my music in here. I've got my contacts in here. I've got my calendar in here. I wouldn't know otherwise when is my talk today if I didn't actually put it in my calendar. So it is really a crucial tool in order to support my life, in order to help my life. And hopefully we can actually view smartphones as a good thing in our lives. This is actually contributing to a positive way of leading our lives. Now, what can you expect from my brief talk today? First of all, I'd like to talk to you about smartphone addiction. So even though there are so many advantages of using technology, of having our smartphones with us, of course there are a number of detriments that can be associated with excessive use of technology, particularly if we're spending increasing amounts of time using our smartphone technology, and if we are giving up alternative activities, if we are giving up time with our loved ones because we're spending that time actually staring at our smartphones. So I'm sure you will agree that when you go to restaurants nowadays, so even if you just cross the street here in Istanbul, lots of people will be staring down on their smartphones. And this appears to be a very common activity all around the world. Rather than looking at each other, rather than communicating with each other, looking each other into our eyes, we are staring at our smartphones because who knows, there might be something popping up on our notification pane, there might be something more important. Or is it more important? That's a big question to ask. Moving on, I shall then provide you with some insights from our empirical research at Nottingham Trent University in the UK, where we have been looking into technological addictions, internet gaming addiction, internet addiction, and of course also smartphone addiction, but also at the kind of positive ways in which we can use technology. So I have only just recently developed a new master's program in cyber psychology, which is the only applied master's program in cyber psychology in England. And if any of you would like to know more about that, I'll be very happy to talk to you about this after this session. Now, the kind of research that I'm going to be presenting is research that we have done together with colleagues from computer science. So really looking into the technological aspects of the technology use. We have also conducted quite considerable cross-cultural research where we're looking at different cultures and the experience of using smartphones. And then, of course, psychological research. I'm a psychologist, therefore I'm interested in user motivations, how we use technology and why we use that. And this is the plan for today. Now, when we are thinking about addiction, then we are thinking about the first empirical research that has been conducted on smartphone addiction, and that has started about 10 years ago or so, where studies have been published both by Australian researchers as well as Japanese researchers, who were the first to really think about an addiction to using smartphone technology as a potential problem for a number of individuals. Since then, we've had more studies. Our research group has published a number of studies on that, and I'm sure some of you have published research on smartphone use. There is more research coming out, and I think this is a growing trend to really look into smartphone use, beneficial use, and potentially problematic use as well. However, when we're thinking about smartphone use, there has been less research interest in comparison to gaming use and specifically also internet use. However, when we think about the smartphones of today, of course, these are our tools to access the internet. This is how we can check our emails. This is how we can Google certain things. This is how we can communicate with a number of people using internet technology. Therefore, I would claim that really smartphone technology and internet use are becoming one. And I think these are the kinds of developments that we do see. The terminology that has been used in that context has been relatively varied as well. We have talked about addiction, mobile phone addiction, smartphone addiction, problematic smartphone use, problematic mobile phone use, which may not necessarily entail addiction or dependence-related problems. And then we have heard already earlier today about nomophobia, the phobia of being without one's phone. So if I actually had left my phone today in my hotel room, I would certainly be very anxious. I would probably be very nervous, and I would wonder, what kinds of messages have I received? Have I received any phone calls from my colleagues and friends? Is anything happening that I might not be aware of? And I think I'm probably not the only person who sometimes suffers from nomophobia. Am I right with that? Probably. Okay. So when we're thinking about addiction, we can get back to the kind of addiction models that we've already touched upon earlier today. In one of the keynote talks, we have heard about the core components of addiction. These have also been used by my colleague Mark Griffiths at Nottingham Trent University. And these are the kinds of components that we can apply to most technological addictions. Those kinds of components include cognitive salience, thinking about the use of your technology on a continuous way, thinking about when is the next time you can use it, when is the next break, and I can make a telephone call, I can check my emails, I can see what's happening in the UK, what my students want from me, for example. Loss of control, one very crucial element, and this has been stated earlier today also by the president. He was talking about getting control back over our technology use, and I couldn't agree more. So really, when I think about my own smartphone, sometimes it does take over my life. Sometimes I'm so glued to the smartphone, and I find it so important to make sure that I can tweet about the sessions, that I can check my emails, that I can see what is happening in the social world in my smartphone. It is very, very important for us to gain the control back so as not to develop problems as a consequence of our excessive use of the smartphone. In addition to this, another criterion is mood modification. Using your smartphone in order to change your mood, to make yourself feel better, or to give you some sort of a pleasure or an escaping motivation. And I have done research actually on those kinds of motivations using smartphone technology, using gaming, using the internet. And if you're using it for the purpose of escaping your real-life problems, your everyday problems, then your probability of developing problems as a consequence of that use is significantly higher. So this is, again, something we should be aware of. The criteria of tolerance and withdrawal in the context of technological addictions have been widely debated. A couple of talks that are going to address some issues with regards to that later on today. So tolerance, needing to spend increased amounts of time on your smartphone, withdrawal, actually experiencing negative symptoms as a consequence of your smartphone use. These symptoms can be both psychological in nature, irritability, depression, but also physiological symptoms. So there has been a lot of talk about how smartphone use can indeed impact our sleeping patterns. And we know that lack of sleep, insomnia, has been related to a number of mental disorders, including addiction, just to mention a few. Conflict, again, is another one of the very important criteria that may be a consequence of addiction to smartphones. Conflict in the way that there might be intrapsychic conflict, conflict within yourself, not being able to have control over your behaviors, and interpersonal conflict. Conflict with the people around you, conflict with your partners, conflict with your parents, with your family members, with your friends, as a consequence of excessive technology use. I've done a lot of research, particularly with young people, talking to them about their their smartphone use. And very often I hear from participants they can't actually stand how their partners are using their technology when they're supposed to be on a romantic date, for example. They're sitting together in a restaurant, they're supposed to have a romantic night together, but what are they doing? They are focusing on their smartphones, which of course is a sad state of affairs. But many of us actually do that. And finally, we've got the criterion of relapse. Relapse, very common in any kinds of addictions, substance-related addictions, behavioral addictions, technological addictions, people after periods of abstinence or decreased use, re-engaging with the technology again, potentially in an excessive way. So these are the kinds of criteria that we can use in order to think about smartphone addiction from a clinical and a diagnostic perspective. Now, as I've mentioned before, I have done quite considerable amounts of research working with different teams of researchers. One of the studies that we've done was together with computer scientists who were able to develop an app that our participants in our research would download onto their phones. And this kind of app would monitor the kinds of notifications that they receive. You know, the sorts of notifications you receive on the top panel of your smartphones. And this was really interesting. So what we did was to gather 50,000 plus notifications from our participants, and then we were able to classify these kinds of notifications into the types of notifications that they've received. So for example, we've got systems notifications here. On the top, as you can see, this would be your smartphone telling you battery is running out, you better plug it in quickly, otherwise you might have nomophobia symptoms because your battery is actually going to die. Work-related notifications, these may be your colleagues sending you emails, asking you about things, your students sending you emails, etc. Notifications, any kinds of messages, Skype messages, WhatsApp messages, people trying to communicate with you. And then finally, personal notifications. And these kinds of notifications might be things such as your step counter telling you actually you haven't done enough steps today, it's time to get moving. Okay, so you really want to reach a minimum of your 10,000 steps. And these were the kinds of notifications that we have gathered from our participants. Now, why is this important? We wanted to find out how these kinds of notifications actually impact on our participants' well-being. So how does it impact on their moods, on how they feel about themselves? And in order to be able to do that, we were sending them notifications ourselves to fill in short questionnaires on a regular basis. 3 times a day, we ask them about how are they feeling in that particular point in time. This is called an experience sampling method. We use the PANAS for this, the positive and negative affectivity schedule, asking about happy emotions, sad emotions, nervous emotions, etc. And then we were able to correlate the data that we received with our notifications with the data that we've received from our experience sampling approach. And you may not be surprised, what happened was that about 1/3 of the notifications that our participants received were indeed the kind of notifications that led to a decrease in their well-being, that led to a significantly worsened mood. Now, what kinds of notifications were these? These were the kinds of notifications, systems notifications, if your mobile phone tries to talk to you about battery status, etc., and also the kinds of notifications related to work. So the more emails or notifications you receive about work-related issues, the worse you feel, probably not surprisingly. The good thing about this research was that 2/3 of the notifications actually caused happy moods. They made you happy, they made you feel content, at least by means of the sorts of participants that have participated in our studies. And this is a very good sign. And those kinds of happy moods were driven by receiving social notifications, notifications from your family and friends trying to communicate with you. So as you can see, hit by a car twice whilst he was playing Pokemon Go. And I think that's not surprising. You know, over the last few years, the BBC has recently reported that the number of traffic accidents, including pedestrians, has increased significantly. And I can tell you why. That's because people are using their smartphones when they're walking across the road. I'm doing myself, you know, when I came here earlier today, I nearly bumped into a lady because I was checking my emails on my phone whilst walking. Probably not very clever, but this is something that is indeed problematic use as well. And then finally, prohibited use. Now, this is used in forbidden areas, areas such as a library, cinema, or anywhere like that. Now, the results that we found in our qualitative research with regards to prohibited use were quite fascinating because we found that older participants actually don't really use their smartphones in prohibited areas, whereas younger people, adolescents, young adults, tend to use it in a prohibited way. And I think this has really got to do with the kind of changing social cultural norms with regards to smartphone use. Younger people have grown up with the technology and they're much more keen to use the technology on a frequent basis, anywhere, anytime. It's normal for them. It might not be so normal for older generations. Very, very interesting stuff there. Now, this was a very small sample that we've had, and what we found with that research was similar to the previous research that I've talked to you about with regards to the cross-cultural research that we've done. The calls per day that you're doing increases the likelihood of problems, the time you spend on your phone, and using social media. So smartphone use is very different to actually gaming use, because with your smartphones, what you do is communicate, you socially engage with others, and this is very important to bear in mind in terms of differentiating potentially addictive behaviors using technology. Risk factors for dependent use in that particular study were stress, using your smartphone in order to deal with stress, again, a kind of dysfunctional coping mechanism, not anxiety or depression in that instance. And I can see my time is running out, and therefore I have already come to my conclusion. So what do we find? Smartphones have become part of our daily routines. I'm sure most of you would agree that your smartphones are very important to you. They're certainly very important to myself and my colleagues and my students and everybody in the UK, probably the rest of the world. Excessive use may lead to health risks. Those are mental health risks, as I've mentioned, but also physical health risks in certain instances. Smartphone addiction affects a minority of excessive users. I would probably class myself as a potentially excessive user because I need my technology. I really do need it, probably a bit too much, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm addicted to the technology, because when we're talking about addiction, we're talking about pathology, and this needs to be diagnosable, and in most instances, it's not diagnosable. I think that's something to bear in mind. And then finally, recent research highlights particular risk factors, as we've seen, social demographic characteristics such as female gender, very importantly, and those kinds of usage behaviors that we have. And I was hoping maybe we have time for a question. Yeah? Okay. Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your attention. We shall have a little bit of time later on for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Darya Kus. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Gerçekten hepimizin sıkıntı duyduğu konulardan bir tanesiydi, özellikle akıllı telefonlar. Acaba hiç akıllanmasalar mıydı diye düşünmüyor değilim zaman zaman. Belki bilgisayarlar bize yeterdi diye düşünüyorum. Ama önce katılımcılarımıza çok teşekkür ediyorum. Her birinin ilgili alanlarında yaptıkları sunumlar hepimize bir pencere araladı diye düşünüyorum. Aslında panelimiz için ayrılan vakti tamamladık, fakat müsaadeleriniz olursa eğer şöyle 3 soru alalım. Katılımcılarımız veya şöyle 5 soru alalım ve katılımcılarımız daha sonra cevaplasınlar. Buyurun. Çok özür dileyerek bir saniye, katılımcılar ayrılmadan salonda şu sosyal deneye katılan arkadaşların bir refleksini ölçelim. Kaç kişi panel boyunca 10 kere telefonuna elini götürdü? Evet, dürüst davrananlara teşekkür ediyorum. 5 kere götüren, hiç götürmemiş olanlar. Evet, bir alkış hak ediyorlar sanıyorum. Teşekkür ediyoruz. Hakikaten paneli dikkatli dinliyordu konuklarımız. Bu da sanırım biraz teknolojiden uzak kalmalarının verdiği bir konfordu. Teşekkürler tekrar katkınız için. Buyurun.
İstanbul Esenyurt Üniversitesi'nden yardım doçent Doktor Davut İbrahimoğlu. Gerçekten de keyifle izlediğimiz bir sunumlardı. Bir katkıda bulunmak istiyorum. Fobiden bahsedildi, telefondan yoksunluk bahsedildi. Bu o kadar ilerlemiş ki benim bir öğrencim yurtta telefonu böyle elinde tutmuş ve oda geziyordu. Hani benim telefonum nerede? Ve arkadaşlar telefon senin elindedir. Yani bizim vücudumuzun bir parçası olmuş hale gelmiş. Amerika'da bir meslek ortaya çıkmış, canlı navigasyon. Yani herkes böyle yürürken telefona baktığı için yanında birisi onu yapıyor, navigasyon ediyor, yolunu gösteriyor. Ve zannediyorum ki Sayın Derya hocamız kendisi de biraz bağımlılık emareleri gösteriyor. Okey mi? Teşekkür ederim, sağ olun.
Orta tarafta bir beyefendi vardı, evet. Buyurun.
Teşekkür ederiz. Denizli Pamukkale ilçesinden gelmekteyiz. Proje ofisimiz var. Teknoloji bağımlılığı ilgili. Görevli olarak geldik kaymakamlık tarafından. Geçenlerde televizyonlarda gördüm. Büyük AVM'lerde veya büyük forumlarda yeni teknolojik oyunları öyle anlatıyorlar ki saatlerce televizyonlarda yer veriyor. Okullarımızda, eğitimciyim aynı zamanda, okullarımızın yakın yerlerinde artık oyunlar insan vücudunda vermiş, kendi bedeniyle oynuyorlar. İlk başta internetteki oyunların ücretsiz olduğu, sonra da ücrete döndürüldüğü, yani kumar sektörüne gidildiği görülmekte. Burada devlet olarak nasıl bir uygulama yapılabilir? Çünkü bakanımız da söyledi, yüksek kurul kuruluyor. Büyük bir şekilde devletimiz bu konuda çalışacak. Bununla ilgili ne gibi çalışmalar yapılacağı konusunda bilgi almak istiyoruz. Bu uyarılar, oyunların denetimi ve sosyal medya ve televizyonlarda bunların övgü haline getirilmemesini istemekteyiz. Bu oyunlar reklam edilmesin artık. Teşekkür ederim.
Teşekkürler. Sağ tarafta bir beyefendi var.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Muhammad Rafiq from Dhaka, Bangladesh. Everybody know Bangladesh is a little small country, but population is very high, near about 200 million. And every day the drugs addiction is going on school going, on university going, boy, girls, every day is increasing. So we have no high technology. We have no, our government trying to develop our, to control the drugs, but cannot because we are poor and technology is very poor. So my request to Turkish government to jointly establish any institution that will control the drugs in Bangladesh. That is my request. Thank you very much.
Bir hanımefendi var hemen arkada. Kırmızı tişörtlü.
Merhaba, ben bilgisayar öğretmeniyim, bilişim teknolojileri öğretmeni. 5. ve 6. sınıflara ders veriyorum. Tam da konumuzla ilgili zaten. Çocuklara ilk haftalarda sorduğum soru şu, mesela internet olmasaydı, tabletiniz olmasaydı ne yapardınız diye. Bir tane aldığım yanıt mesela beni dehşete düşürmüştü. İntihar ederim dedi çocuk. Yani tableti, interneti olmasa hayat onun için anlamsızmış. Ve şunu gördüm, mesela Mavi Balina oyunu medyada çıktıktan sonra, filakka denen madde medyada çıktıktan sonra çocukların ilgisi arttı. Önce hiç bilmeyenler bile mutlaka yani söylüyorlar, ağızlarına kaçırıyorlar, işte girdik bir baktık falan gibisinden. Hani medyanın bu konuda çok sorumsuz davrandığını düşünüyorum. Çünkü hiç bilmedikleri bir şeyi haberler sayesinde öğrenmiş oluyorlar. Ve bu da çocukların hani yapma dediğiniz zaman daha çok ilgisini çekiyor. Yani kısıtlama, yasak getirdiğimiz zaman daha çok ön plana çıkarıyoruz aslında. Bunlar için ne yapabiliriz? Yani çocukları buralardan uzaklaştırmak için, onların ilgi alanını çekmek için neler yapılabilir? Bunu sormak istiyordum.
Son bir soru alıyoruz. Sol tarafa haksızlık ettik galiba. En solda bir beyefendi var. Bugün beyler daha çok soru sordu. Genelde hanımlar daha çok soru sorar ama. Buyurun.
Merhabalar, ben Bilgi Teknolojileri ve İletişim Kurumu'ndan katılıyorum. Biz 9-11 Ekim tarihleri arasında özellikle oyun temalı, oyun bağımlılığıyla alakalı bir sempozyum düzenledik. Nasip olursa Nisan ayı içerisinde 2018'de özellikle yine oyunları konu alan bir kongremiz, uluslararası kongremiz olacak. Biz bu konuları orada detaylı olarak Çalıştay'da Ekim'dekinde tartışmıştık. Ben burada en başta bir sosyal deney yaptınız. Şunun da sorulmasını çok önemsiyorum. Yani yetişkinler özellikle akıllı telefonları, evet sahipler kendilerinde belki bunu bir hak olarak da görüyorlar. Acaba bu ebeveynlerin ortaokul veya liseye giden çocukları tablet veya akıllı telefonlardan kullanıyorlar mı? Yani kullanmayan var mı yok mu? Onu merak ediyorum. Onu da bir sormak mümkün mü acaba?
Tamam mıdır?
Evet.
Teşekkür ediyoruz. Ben soruları herhalde katılımcılarımız not aldılar. Genel olarak bir soru oyunların denetlenmesi meselesinde gelmişti. Medyanın şiddet ilişkisi üzerine bir soru aldık. Ve son sorumuz sanıyorum Şener Hocam bir cevaplama yönünde.
Doğrudan benim çalışmayla ilgili değil ama.
Buyurun hocam. Mikrofonu hocam açarsınız.
Şimdi ilk olarak benim kumar bağımlılığı ile ilgili bir soru vardı. Aslında onunla ilgili küçük bir bilgim var. Onu aktarmak isterim. Yeşilay Cemiyeti'nin bilim kurulu kumar bağımlılığı konusunda bir başlangıç çalışmaya ilk adımını attığı bir politika belgesi oluşturma noktasında bir görevlendirme var, bir çalışma var. Benim bildiğim, içinde olduğum bir ortam açısından söylüyorum. Gerçekten böyle bir çalışmaya ihtiyaç vardı ve bu ihtiyacı da Yeşilay Kurumu şu anda karşılama noktasında kararlılık göstermiş durumda. Bir başka arkadaşımız çok dikkat çekti. Yani tablette bilgisayar olmasa hayatının sonu geldiği şeklinde. O beni çok etkiledi, bir öğretmen arkadaşımızın. Diğer arkadaşımızın hani sorusuna ilişkin doğrudan doğruya çok güvenilir bir şey söyleyemeyeceğim. O nedenle kendisiyle belki ikili olarak konuşma yararlı olabilir. Ama bu noktada kendi çalışmamın dışında geldiği için çok fazla bir açıklamada bulunmam doğru da olmaz diye düşünüyorum. Teşekkür ediyorum.
Ben çocukları teknoloji bağımlılığından uzak tutmak için ne yapabiliriz sorusuna bir cevap vermek istiyorum. Bana göre teknoloji bağımlılığı veya herhangi bir bağımlılığın kendisi sorun değildir. O bir sonuçtur. Çocuğu ya da ergeni teknolojiye bu kadar bağımlı kılan ihtiyaç ya aidiyettir ya da özgüven ve yeterlilik ihtiyacıdır. Aileler, burada ailelere çok önemli bir iş düşmektedir. Aileler çocukların aidiyet ve özgüven ihtiyaçlarını karşılamak için özen göstermeliler. Onlar aile içerisinde karşılanmadığı zaman bu ihtiyaçlar, çocuk bu ihtiyaçları sanal ortamlarda, sanal insanlarla veya sanal yeterlilik ve başarılarla gidermeye çalışmaktadır.
Dr. Kus, would you have a say towards the questions asked?
Yeah. I think I would probably... Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah? I think I would probably like to address the question of media responsibility, which is something that we have been looking at in the past, which I think is something that is not considered sufficiently in the present day and age. So in my opinion, and in the opinion of many of my colleagues, there needs to be increased responsibility, particularly with regards to actually initiating prevention approaches, initiating awareness raising approaches, and the media, they have the power to do that, and there is a need to actually do these sorts of things. In addition to this, rather than demonizing technology, which I think is really the wrong way, our children, young people, they love their technology, they want to use technology. Technology is beneficial in the most circumstances. However, what I think in terms of responsibility we need to do as their parents, their educators, even the media, etc., is to raise awareness of potential problems in the future, raise awareness of possible addiction, and really initiate that from very early ages. So I'm currently working on research where we're trying to establish an evidence-based prevention approach in UK schools, starting very early, already in elementary schools, where we can actually teach those children, the kinds of problems that could emerge as a consequence of technology use. And I think that is the better approach, rather than, as I say, demonizing behaviors. Really support them in increasing their media literacy and increasing their knowledge of how to use technology in a responsible way. Thank you.
Bütün katılımcılarımıza çok teşekkür ediyorum. Hakikaten biraz önce Hana hocamızın söylediği çocukların evlerinde aslında özgüven ve aidiyet duygusunun gelişmesi meselesi bir bakıma Doktor Kus'un da özellikle kadınların bir risk grubu olarak ifade edilmesiyle örtüşen bir tarafı var sanıyorum. Toplumsal olarak da aidiyet durumu güçlü, statüsü netleşmiş olan ve güçlendirilmiş olan kadınların muhtemelen bu risk faktörü olma durumları da azalacaktır diye tahmin ediyorum. Bu gerçekten çarpıcı bir tespitti. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Katılımınız için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sosyal deneye katıldığınız için de ayrıca teşekkür ediyorum. Kongrenin geri kalan panellerine de katılacağınızdan eminim. Verimli geçmesini diliyorum. Teşekkür ediyorum. Hoşçakalın.